All right. So we just got cut out. We were talking about jobs, and we got fired for a moment there from
We
the
got
internet.
we got fired. Yes.
We
Well,
got fired by
and
the internet.
speaking of outages, and we'll get back to the jobs in a second, but speaking of
Yes.
outages, Microsoft had a big outage
So
recently as well.
remember, I said like a lot of cases, like if it happens to the big guys, then there's something that you have to really consider. It doesn't happen to the big guys too often.
Right.
When they do, it hasn't been the case of someone attacking them, though. That's one thing,
Right.
right? So people sometimes say, "Oh, some nefarious," they're not saying and all that stuff. Truly, though, and this is the point of a lot of these systems, when they get that big and they scale out, mistakes are compounded, right? So
Yes.
you do one thing and it propagates, and you do it without proper controls, that propagation can hurt heavily.
Right. Well, and as systems and architectures and products and applications as they mature and
Yes.
scale, they go through different stages. And we're
Yes.
really, that we talk about late stage capitalism. We're with the cloud, we're in
Yes.
late stage applications where every detail, every little bit of configuration has to undergo a significant amount of scrutiny,
Yes.
or we can run into
Or we can
issues.
run into it. And sometimes it's the smallest thing. In this particular case, I do understand it was a network configuration issue and they solved it. And if it was, sometimes we think we have all these tools, CI/CD tools, all the oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the tools now that are just dealing with this. All the infrastructure as code tools that are supposed to deal with that stuff. Um, I almost imagined that someone said, "Hey, let me try Chat GPT on the configuration, see what it comes out." And let's try. Oops, wait a minute, Chat GPT. I said no. As
No,
Chat
no,
GPT says,
no.
sure, I will push this change because I am Chat GPT. But
Yeah.
it almost that was my little like let's try it out. No, stop.
No, stop. So back to jobs. One of
Yes.
the things, Microsoft has laid off a lot of people. We've seen a lot of layoffs in a lot of different
Mhm.
cloud companies, and
Right.
their jobs with the cloud in their title. And we don't want to we don't want to make ourselves indispensable because we control
Are the only
knowledge.
ones. Right. Exactly.
Right. That's never the position that you want to be in.
That's right.
That's awful. I mean,
That's his. The blackmail
how do
position,
you
I call
sleep?
it. Isn't it?
How do you sleep at night?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Or see,
that's the
here's the thing:
evil.
they're going to find their way around it because somebody wants to. You become
Yes.
the problem they want to solve.
Yes. You don't want to be that problem. But how is it that we can make ourselves indispensable in other ways? I mean, what are some tips and tricks?
Yeah, I mean, the big one is like if you're a problem solver, if you're the person that solves problems, this is the thing.
Yes.
There, in a lot of cases, sometimes the automation goes too far. It's like we're automating stuff. Well, we got to hire people to fire the people. Yeah, if you're the person that they hire to fire, you might have a job there. But in a lot of cases, that is a problem. That might be a joke, like you hire people to fire people, but actually, those are problem solvers. They're solving a particular kind of problem.
Yes.
Now, if you're a person that can solve a lot of different problems, you're more likely to stick around. At the very least, they're going to try to find a spot for you. Right? It's like, well,
Right.
we don't need you here right now, but can you move over here? Can you go do this something? In fact, there's been quite a few of that happened. In some cases, like, sure, I can do it, but I'm not willing to go to Minnesota to do it. Okay, well, all right, then here's your parting gift, and let's go. Right? So, but it could be simply a case of like, do you want to be that person? Some people say, I'm very good at solving problems, but I really don't like to. Some people don't like solving.
Some
They're
people
very
don't
good
like it.
at it, but they just don't like it because they have to deal sometimes with the people who asked the problem in the first place, and they're not people.
So
Just saying.
one so it sounds like one way to become sort of indispensable is to be broad, to be able to do a lot of different things. And that's
Yes.
a very
Well, that always
reasonable
works. Yes.
approach. That's a you know well, I can do this job, but I can also do this one or this one or this one. But another approach, which is interesting, and we were chatting about it earlier,
Mhm.
is to go deep and be very narrow but very
Ooh,
deep in a subject so that you're an expert on a particular, you know,
yes.
technology or technique or whatever. And you then become a unicorn that people are looking for
Are
and
looking
they
for.
really want to hire.
Speaking of unicorn, and here's the case: like sometimes a company will say, especially companies that are not that technical, it's like, oh wow, look at this big layoffs in the company. We can now get people cheap. They think now they can get people cheaper because those folks that were at companies where they were paying a lot will now become available. So guess what? It's like, what's on your requirements? Okay, I need a person who can do who can work with tool X. But and 1,000 people came from that company. Let's go look over there. Oh my God, none of them have
None of
tool
them use
X in
X.
their skills. All right. So you're back at the same problem. You're trying to find for tool X, thinking that because there was a firing somewhere, there's going to be more people with tool X in their skills. And when there was hardly anybody before and asking for a lot of money, same problem. There's still hardly anyone because the people that were let go are still not tool X people. Right.
Right. And
No,
and if you
right
are
there.
looking for one of those unicorn skills, I mean, I've I see job recs all the time where
Yes.
we need AWS, we need React Native, right? So we're
Unicorn
narrowing it
skills
down.
sometimes is like a combination of skills
It's
that
a
come together
combination of
because
skills.
somebody will have something but not have something else. The unicorn is where they combined.
It's where they combine, and when you get that meshing where you exactly meet those very obscure requirements. Because let's be honest, React Native, there are, you know, 200, 300,000 people that are really, really good at React Native in the world. I mean, in the world, that's
Sure.
not a lot, but it's enough. And
Yes.
until you start cutting those into, well, we need someone with AWS experience. Okay, well, you cut out half of them.
Right.
You know, just looking at broad numbers, you know, if AWS is half and Azure
Oh,
is
and
half,
and has in experience in the financial industry.
there you go. Let's
Slicing
cut it
them down
again
further.
and keep slicing until you get down to one person. And the problem is, well, a lot of times companies aren't willing to even pay market rates, right? I mean, we all know that. They want
Yes.
to pay as little as they can.
Right.
But um, see, if you're finding a unicorn, you've got to pay well above market rates, or you should
Yes.
be, because that
Yes.
person has a specific skill set. And
Right.
you know, if you're being very specific, you're either not going to hire the position or you're going to have to pay above market rates.
Yes. Well, a thing you could do, especially if you're in the folks that are out there looking around, is to look at your skills and see if you can create a package. Make
Yes.
different versions of your CV or resume where you emphasize groups that you would like to do. Obviously, think about
Right.
what you'd like to
Things
do.
that
Don't if you need a job because you need one, well, that's one thing. Get whatever you can. Don't stop. Don't wait for it, right? Because you need one. But if you can manage to wait, maybe you were given a package, or something like that. Okay, take that time to play around with those combos and see what you can do, get out from that.
yes. And you know, look for people that are doing the things that you want to be doing. I mean, you know, I'm a consultant. I want to be a consultant. I want to continue to, you know, to go out and help a lot of different companies. I like I like the fact that I get to see, you know, honestly, we see the same problem over and over again in a lot
Hmm.
of cases, but we're
Yes.
seeing it from different angles and we're seeing them having tried different things. And so
Yes.
we're able to bring that experience in and also gain a lot of experience from it.
You got
But
it.
some people really don't want to be a consultant. They want to go into a job and be there,
Give
forever.
me
I
my
think.
tasks. This is what I need to do, and I'm okay. They like the concept of being consultant versus being corporate. It is a lifestyle. It is a mindset, to be
It
sure.
is.
It
It
is a
is.
mindset, and
And
that's the thing.
so while I maybe could get paid more doing that, being a an FTE for a big enterprise,
FTE, full time employee, for
full-time
those who don't
employee,
know.
yes, that's not something that I would want to do. Okay, and I'm in a position where if my job that I'm currently on went away tomorrow, I would
Yep.
have some time to be able
Yes.
to look and find the right position for me next.
Hmm.
Uh, some people are not in that situation. But if you're not, that's okay too. Get the
Yes.
job that you can while looking for the next
While
one.
looking for the other one. Don't get stopped. There's freelancer abilities. There's all kinds of ways to monetize what you can do. Is to say, don't do something because you think you can't. In fact, there's people out there that are like, how the heck are they making money? And it's like, yeah, it's because they have,
Well,
I'm going to say no shame, maybe, but in more cases, they're not afraid to do it.
they're not
Right. In
afraid
some
to
cases,
try it,
or they're
and
very afraid, but the fact is they overcome the fear and do it.
do it anyway, and do it for long enough,
Yes,
right? Because it's one of those things where there are times when you just have to do it long enough in order to get
indeed.
noticed. And so,
Yeah.
you know, get
So
that
yeah,
get that
there's
freedom.
that going out there, and I always say try to move yourself into the job that you want to be into. The other one, of course, is as they say, being into place, and it's harder maybe with the remote situation that's going on. It's hard to be in a place to get seen if no one sees you in this remote situation. But actually,
Right.
there is a way. If it's social media or however you do it, if it's having YouTubes and everything else, getting yourself promoted, leave no stone
LinkedIn,
unturned. LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Oh,
man.
LinkedIn. Yeah. Well, so LinkedIn should be super, super important right now. And it's like,
Yes.
well, if if you're like looking for a job or you're in that position, then get premium. There's no point not
Right.
getting that because that makes more sense.
And
Okay.
here's the truth. I'll be honest. I'm the cobbler's kids have no shoes. I've not done a good job on my LinkedIn. And the trick is you don't start doing it. You should not just start doing it right when you start looking for a job. You got to do
Yeah.
it consistently over a long period
Yeah.
of time in order to build up. It's all about
Yeah.
consistency.
Yeah.
Um,
If
and
there's a thing to prepare, remember we said prepare, how do we prevent this and everything else? The thing to have
yes,
handy and ready to go, even if you're like right now, you're settled, you're fine, I'm not affected. Your call to action, if there's a next step to take out of this call, is go back to your LinkedIn, go check it out. How old is that stuff? Are you getting
yes,
recruiting calls that are asking you to join a job that's 4 or 5 levels below you? Maybe you have not updated your LinkedIn because that's
yes.
what it's coming back in their search results, and they're asking you, "Hey, we need an entry level position to go to this." It's like, "Hey, but I'm a manager." Well, that's not what your profile says.
It doesn't show up here, right? Uh,
Exactly.
30,
Of
30
course,
minutes, 30
I,
minutes a week, right? I mean,
exactly.
it's not a big time investment. It's just a matter of being able to consistently do it. So,
Yes. So I mean, even what I've done to my LinkedIn's, I've tried to add a few things to try to stop some of these like asking me to do a lesser jobs. Like I'm doing this at a national level. You're asking me to do stuff where I have people under me that do this. And doesn't my profile say enough of it? And I'm wondering first, did they even read my profile? In some cases, well, that's what the AI is returning. They're returning areas. So I try to take a look at it. It's like, why does it think that? And then I realize it's because it looks at my experience and I didn't update it since I changed jobs. So
right,
as far as it's concerned, I just changed jobs, but the 90% or bulk of my experience that's showing up is everything before my new job.
right.
So unless I go in there and maybe post, I'm not thinking though the AI should be smarter. It should look at your posts and look at the other stuff and say, well, clearly he's in this job for a long time because look at his posts are this level posts versus his older job. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But it's a good idea to keep it fresh and keep it updated. Any of those sites.
For
All
sure.
right. Well, okay. Let's put that aside, and then
So
of
what
course
else
my
what
lamenting
else
that
do we want
Alt
to talk
VR
about?
and some of the Microsoft Hololens and all that stuff might be going away. More people being let go, but and in that particular case, you know what? I can you might have heard about this. Alt VR and some of these other type of sites are going away. And what did Microsoft settle on? Mesh. Who's Mesh? Facebook. Those guys. Right. So wait a minute. The enemies are again going together? Well, we know if you've been watching the show enough, you know that the trend is everybody will work together no matter there's no such thing as competition, when someone is a
Right.
customer, right? And when someone can make it work, they'll make it work. So it's like, okay, so they literally got rid of a whole bunch of their own stuff to go with someone else. It's akin to like the Betamax people basically
Right.
conceding to the VHS people because they saw the tea leaves and not because the market basically forced them out.
Well,
Right? They proactively said, "Okay, VHS, we see what's coming. You win, and hey, let's join you and let's work together."
yeah,
Imagine that. That's
VHS,
what
and
Microsoft's
for
doing.
those who don't know,
Yeah.
for
Yes.
those
Let's go
for
back.
those who are
We're
young
dating
enough,
ourselves.
yeah, let's back up. VHS and Betamax were two competing um, um,
Formats,
storage
storage
devices,
formats.
storage formats prior to DVDs.
Yes.
Okay, prior to DVDs, they were magnetic tape and they stored images. So one of the reasons that VHS won over Betamax. It's not because Betamax was an inferior technology. In fact, it was a superior
Because
technology.
they were smaller, they were
They
more
were
compact.
they were smaller, more compact. They had a higher density format. They the um, they had positive tape roll.
Oh
so
yes,
so in VHS, every time you play the tape, you stretch it.
right.
In Betamax, it that did not occur because they had a
That's
better feed mechanism.
that's right.
Um,
And VHS would actually wear out if you played it too much.
VHS would wear out, but what VHS did was they marketed themselves better. They they also got the home recording faster and cheaper,
Yes.
and so there were a lot of things in the market, but it wasn't the technology that won. It was the the whole package,
The
and the
whole
same thing is
package.
happening now.
Right. But
Mesh,
you see, and it's so funny though, because in this particular case, Mesh hasn't exactly caught on. There's no VR anywhere that I feel has caught on to be like the leader at anything. The Oculus stuff that we see all around over there, that's not exactly meshy or anything else. Nothing has won yet. It's like the battle has barely started in this
right?
particular case. But somebody, maybe the AI came back from the future and said, "Don't even bother, buddy. We have a winner." Maybe who knows? Because we don't know.
Well,
They
well,
figured
I
they
mean,
guessed.
they're guessing, they're re-entrenching, right? They're taking their investments and they're consolidating them onto known winners.
Right.
They feel, they don't necessarily feel that the HoloLens was going to lose. Although I did see recently that the U.S. government um, cut back on their orders for um,
Yeah,
uh,
they were about
the
to get a whole
HoloLens
bunch of
for,
them, and then they cut back.
they cut
I think
back, for use in the military. So that hurt. That cut
yes,
some of the budget. Um, but it wasn't necessarily that they were going to lose. It was that they're not going to win quickly enough, and so
right.
the money can be better invested and get a quicker ROI in some other technology.
So there's the deal. It's like it's things are happening faster because
Yes.
now the let's just say the models for operating this can see quickly, much more quickly, what's likely to happen, and maybe knee jerk. And that's what basically that's what computer trading is all about. These are knee jerk systems that are happening on a split second. That if it was humans, there might be like perhaps a little bit more forethought, but it's that forethought that is essentially where the car crashes versus like the instant I made sure that I didn't crash at all situation.
Well, so are we seeing the same thing? Just Netflix and some of the shows that they're canceling, are they canceling them not because they're bad shows, but because they're just not getting a large enough return,
It
and
seems
they
like
want to invest the money,
they want to
their
invest
limited
in
budget?
something else. It's like they're going. It seems like they're just like it's almost like we say, hey, you want a show to go there and make some quick money and go away. Send it to Netflix.
Yeah,
That's make the fast money and go. But what if you wanted something to have staying power? You probably want to go to Disney. Just that's the way
just
it
saying.
looks right now,
It it
right?
looks
Even
like they're using
HBO doesn't look like they're holding on to things.
well, Paramount Plus, right? They're all using different algorithms to determine what shows they keep and what shows they put on,
Could I weigh
Hmm.
in
and
on
we don't
this?
know yet.
Yep, you got one, Raquel.
So one thing that HBO Max has been kind of known to do is take out a lot of their animated shows. And a recent animated show that HBO Max kept or produced was Velma, and that got very very low ratings. But they said
Yes.
it was a very like one of the most watched or something premieres. But that was mostly so people could bash on it.
Well, but that's not bad. I mean, if they get it right, it depends on how you're
Bad
getting
publicity
paid.
is still publicity.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it is, but definitely people are not liking the way these certain reboots are coming, are just happening because Velma is one example of, I guess, like the writer or something interjecting herself into the character. There's also a comic
Oh,
about like Starfire's daughter or something, and if you
oh
take an
man.
image of the artist and then the or like the writer or something and then that character in the comic almost identical, if not identical.
Oh, so they're
So
making it too personal, is what it is. That's
yeah.
the trouble. It's like you have to be a very big star, you know, with like you have to be like almost like Robin Williams before you can even Robin Williams haven't had a lot of success in a lot of things either. So
Well,
that's a tough.
on top of that, it's like people are not liking how they're disrespecting the properties, and there's so many reboots out there that people are finding like this is not a good one for this and that reasons. They don't respect the source material, yada yada yada. So I mean,
This
that's
has
kind of
been
how
a
the
case for
audience
a
is
while.
thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And then also for the Oculus, I feel like Oculus has more sales just because I see the most Oculus memes.
That's
And there's
true.
also like VR chat and stuff like that. Some of their games are huge, and I saw like a video on Meta, their metaverse or whatever, and
Hmm.
I would say it needs some work.
Right,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
and see the problem. I mean, and again, I think it will be sad. It will be sad for me if VR wins over AR, because I believe that AR has it, which is the difference between the Oculus and the HoloLens.
Right.
VR, virtual reality, or full immersion versus AR or augmented reality.
Augmented
Um,
reality.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree.
I think augmented reality has more, um, much longer term benefits
But that's the
than
Betamax
virtual
versus
reality.
VHS thing.
But
Exactly
we're
that.
down to VHS and
Right?
Betamax,
The
right?
AR is actually the future eventually. What remember the Windows Phone or even the Zune? A lot of those interfaces they went away. They got bad, but here they are
Yeah,
suddenly
they're coming
appearing
back.
in other devices from everyone else. And so I was like, well, it's almost like it came too soon, right?
Yes.
It was a great idea, but you came too soon. You needed to like mature in these areas first. We needed to take the path around here before we realized that you were going to go there. I mean, there's sci-fi shows like Peripheral and all the rest where it is AR. It's absolutely AR.
Yes.
You're in there. No one's wearing like goggles or anything else. You're not going to see that the folks like walking around like that in the future. However, though, in the meantime, to get there, this is the stepping stone.
Maybe this is as far as we can go right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So well, we're going to have to work with that. What other gripes we have today? So we went through all the changes for the stuff, and we're hoping that folks are going to be okay out there. As I said, everything else is awesome. So
Everything else is awesome. Well,
right.
okay.
I was going to today. I was going to like people are still how do you say it? They're still debating Agile. Why? Who still debates Agile? But apparently people still
No,
debate it. It's like
so debating Agile, what they're really debating is the implementations. I don't believe that any of the methods um, are necessarily better than any others. Okay, they're all situational. You can't say one is best, but you can absolutely implement them in such a way that they will fail and that
yes.
they will make things worse. And I've got a client that I'm writing up a paper on right now, and I'm bemoaning the fact that they're using a Kanban like system.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
And see, anytime,
Let's explain what Kanban is.
yeah,
Kanban,
anytime you talk about a like, right, or we're using our version of Safe, or we're using our version of Scrum,
scaled
or
agile
we're using
framework, that is.
our version of Kanban. So
Yes.
Kanban is continuous improvement, and it is a great system where you have cards. You put the cards in vertical
Swimming
lanes,
lanes. Yep. They
and
call them
and
swim
then
lanes.
you move them from from the left to the right as they go from you know um, pending to in progress to complete.
Right.
Okay. And one of the things that's important about that is you have what's called a WIP limit or a work in progress limit. You have limits on the number of items that can be in any one of those vertical columns.
Hmm.
And if you don't put those in place, then what happens is you end up with everything in progress and
Yeah,
nothing ever
exactly.
gets done.
So exactly. So the thing is, you've sort of like defeated the purpose of having the planning tool. If everything is all going to be the same in the one place, what's the point of having that system. The whole point of having that system is for management. It's like, okay,
Right.
what's our analysis? Our analysis says we should have a nice flow of this going on. This, if I have everything all sitting over here, that should be colored red, or like
There should be a problem.
problem. But you shouldn't
Right.
even have to get there. You should know it as you're going along. Things should indicate it's like, I've just exceeded the limit. Aha, boom, fix it now. Don't wait until it's
Exactly.
overloaded.
And the idea, the whole idea of Kanban is throughput. That's what you're trying to maximize. And different systems maximize different things. So in Kanban, if you're doing true Kanban, you can't add anything to a column
Yes.
that will overflow your WIP limit. So you can't have anything that's pending until you've actually cleared out at least one thing from the pending column. Well, you
That's right.
can't move anything out of the pending column to the in progress until there's room in the in progress column. And you can't move anything out of the in progress column until it's moved, until there's room in the so there's a cascading effect. And the idea is that it will show up and really emphasize blockers. Right, it'll emphasize bottlenecks.
Who's my
Right,
blocker?
where we've got too few people that are doing this one job, and in a true Kanban system, you have what you call swarms, where you'll pull people from, earlier jobs, pull people and have them working on things that are currently blocked. Currently, even though they're not necessarily good at it, it's at least better than nothing.
You're almost hearing like where the catches are, where the abuse can easily put into play. Hey, I want to mess with that. All I have to do is just move those people over there, and all of a sudden, blam! I've just hurt the whole process.
So, anyway, Kanban, any of those people are, SAFe, right? Scaled Agile Framework.
Yeah.
Well, in order to even think about SAFe, and yeah, I've seen people bashing it all over the place, but the problem is that they shouldn't necessarily, or I see too many people that are bashing implementations anecdotally rather than bashing the system as it sets. And in order to talk about SAFe, you have to already agree that Agile is a thing and is something that is laudable. And there's situations where Agile is not what you want. Agile is the least thing that's on your mind.
So that's the problem.
Yeah, it's all of these things are soft. They're not a science. Well, so
not exactly one size fits all situation.
Right.
Again, the concept of Agile is the idea is to quickly adapt to change, and you want to get moving fast. Versus, say, what they used to call waterfall, which is like you have the steps, follow the steps, and nothing is going to get in the way because gravity is such a harsh mistress. You're going to move in one direction no matter what.
And one of the awesome, if you've not read any articles about how in New York City, where I'm at now, where I live, they put up buildings. Right, the Empire State Building was put up in less than a year, and was put up under budget. And it's interesting to look at how they did that, because that is a huge undertaking.
Right. And when they did it, remember, Empire State Building.
When they did it was pre-computers.
Over 100 years ago.
Right. It was pre-computers. How did they do that?
Right.
How were they able to build such, the Sears Tower? How were they able to build such big buildings in a short amount of time? And excuse me. And they were not using an Agile process, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not. But they looked at work in progress. They looked at those things. They looked at flows, and it's all about the way that those things are scheduled and implemented and put in place.
Yes.
And so we, Agile and the way that we deal with, maybe one of our guests, maybe we should get someone on that is an Agilist.
We should.
That is more of a project manager or Scrum
Master.
Yeah.
Scrum Master.
Because it is a science, but it's a science more like psychology or more like economics. It's a so-called soft science, not because there's no rigor to it, but because you don't have the same causal links that you do with like physics or chemistry, right? Chemistry, you mix two things together. If I mix them together and Ralph mixes them together and we're in different places, we get the same results.
Yes, exactly.
Right. But but psychology, if you if you have two patients that are exhibiting the same symptoms, if you will, and you
Right.
provide them or do the same procedure to each of them,
Mm-hmm.
provide them with the same level of care,
Right.
you're going to get different outcomes.
That's right.
And that's just the nature of the
Right. The idea
of
of
the
like
science.
too many variables beyond variables. I mean, where AI and all this stuff tries to bring it to a science, but the variables will, it's just beyond
Yeah.
those pieces. So that's why we essentially we have those people that are saying like, well, isn't that like an extra overhead? It's almost like having like the political advisor that they used to have in the cadres of platoons back in the day. It's like, well, yeah, but the thing was though, they had a purpose, they had an idea. It may not have been implemented well. Same thing,
There you
right?
go.
It's
Right.
in its implementation. If you implement it properly, they will be a help. With implemented improperly or with an abusive mindset, they will hurt you like nobody's business.
Right. It can actually be a detrimental effect.
It can be a detrimental effect. The idea of pushing things through.
We were doing planning just this morning for the division of the company I work for. Right.
Sure.
We were doing high level planning for our next quarter, and we were looking at putting together rocks or stories, right, that we're going to be working on as a group.
Yep.
And one of the things that's hard to do, because we have to develop all of these stories and then take them to our upper management where they will allow us to allocate resources to them. Okay. So we have to look at, how do we measure what success is, right? How do we build a story that's safe, right? That we can measure the results. How do we show the causal link between what we think, what we feel, what our hypothesis is, and what the actual outcomes are going to be?
Metrics.
Metrics, right?
I've been talking about it.
And we're working, especially with the, at the level story that we're talking about here. We're talking about moving division. So we're talking about like, creating a community of practice, okay, for our employees, for the workers.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like that's going to make a difference. We feel like that's going to improve retention. It's going to do a lot of these things, but how can we prove a causal link between the things that we do and the outcomes? Because there are so many other things that can be impacting
Yes.
Retention. We're looking at a lot of people that are being let go by these big companies.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to cycle.
Exactly.
And you're going to see a hiring boom that's going to come after this, because
Yes.
that's the way this
Because
works.
that has happened. This we can historically look within our quickie lifetimes here. Exactly. That happened.
Yes. You and I have both lived through at least two of them.
Yeah. How about it?
I mean, I've been in the industry long enough to have been through, the 2000 and then 2008. Yeah.
That one, those two alone. And in my case, actually, a little bit of the ones in the late 80s, there was a little bit of that went through that went right on the cusp of the 90s. That's why the 90s went skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
That's why 2000 hurt a lot because of that.
Because the 90s were going up
and
so
2008, as much as it hurt, did not hurt as much because it was a shorter period. And now here we are again at this point, and you notice that we seem to have learned something, because they're now trying to go for the so-called soft landing. And every time we're hearing numbers, everything just seems to defy. According to what happened before, shouldn't we all be panicking and doing this stuff, and everyone's selling off and worried about this and all that stuff? That doesn't seem to be happening, at least not at that level. Or it's happening, but not in the same places. So
something that's interesting too, because we're looking at moving. Our family's moving. My son's a sophomore in high school. He's going to graduate from high school, and then we're going to be able to move. And we're looking at different places. The housing market right now is contracting again. Right? It's not the bust that we saw before the debacle with all of the loans, but we are seeing it, contracting. We're seeing that it's oversold, that interest rates are going up, and that there are fewer. Charlotte, North Carolina, for some reason, you can't buy a house right now, at least downtown, because there's Anyway, it's interesting though to compare that, and what I think would be a fun thing to do would be to compare tech jobs and the housing market. Can we find some
Hmm.
type of not causal link, but maybe correlation between those? You know,
I have a
how
feeling
can
we
we
can
predict
find that
these?
data somewhere.
Maybe.
And yeah, I have a feeling if we get that Power BI. Remember that Power
I
BI thing
think
I showed you, where if you
yeah.
get free data and then you can make up your own stuff with that.
I
Ah,
think that there are tools out there that could help us, visualize some of these things and have, if nothing else, build an infographic that I can throw in LinkedIn to up my saleability
to up your
index.
salability. Yeah, that'd be actually cool. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about your
Well, we'll leave it.
salability pretty soon here.
So
Speaking of salability,
we need to get a PM type to do a talk with us. We also then we need another data engineer. We need to get
yes,
somebody
we gotta
that's
talk data.
that's
We
deep
can't
into
leave
that.
it. Data is important. We got to talk data. These are all the parts things. The PM part, it's like it's for some of the folks that are into the technology. You're like, hey, I just want to do this. I just want to create this. But remember, without them, you cannot do what you're doing,
That's right.
right? Or at least you cannot do what you're doing without someone over your shoulder going and checking you out or bugging you the heck out of you. Those are the folks that, let's just say,
They're
they
the ones
take off.
that herd cats.
That's right. That's right. They're the ones that hurt cats. Let them take care of us. Those people are important. It's good to know what they do. At least respect what they do. How about maybe even make some tools to help those folks? Hey, there's a job.
Yes. Hmm.
Just saying.
Hmm.
All right. Hey, I think we had a good talk today. We
Yes,
covered a lot
we
of
did.
things. I think we're going to be. I'm not sure if this presentation might be today. Might be in part one, part two, because we got cut off earlier. I'm not sure how that's going to look like. But maybe Raquel, if you can find out what it looks like on the site and just rename it part one, part two if it's broken, so we can see how that happens. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that our new stuff is right in the top of our YouTube and why our old stuff keeps showing up on the top. When people look at it, I have to like make them dig to find our latest show. There's got to be an
Oh,
easier way.
yeah. Okay. I'll take that. I also
We'll
need
take a
to
look at that.
I'm last week's show is not published yet because we had so many links. I've not put all those links in. So I'll
Okay.
get that published as well.
All right. Got it. But that's on the website, though, not on the YouTube. YouTube is always there as soon as we're done, right?
YouTube is there, but not necessarily public. It can be
Oh,
in an unpublished state.
okay.
So
And that might be the case. Maybe that's why Craig couldn't find it right away. I was able to make him find it, though. He did find it. I dug him deep into the videos and he did find it.
right,
But you're right. It wasn't up front
it's unlisted is what it is. It's
unlisted.
not
That's the
listed.
thing.
Right. It's not listed until we get
Get it cleaned up.
until we
Got it.
get it cleaned up. Right.
All right. We will work on that, folks. We're working on it. Larry, as you see, Larry's got work to do. Poor Larry. Don't
Poor
worry.
Larry.
We'll do a GoFund for one day. One day we'll think about it.
No.
Go
We're
fund
fine.
you.
It's all
Okay,
good.
we're fine. We're good.
We
Hey,
do need to
thanks again.
get back to Ralph's money though. Come on.
Yeah,
Even if it's
Ralph's
red,
money is making a comeback. Strangely enough,
even if it's
um,
red, we need to look.
we'll take a look. Maybe when it goes over the 50% mark, then we can come back and say,
Back.
what is it looking like 2 years later?
3
See
years
what
later.
happened.
Okay.
Whew. Crazy.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We should hopefully we'll have a guest next week. I've got someone
Yes.
lined up. I just got
All right.
I just got some feedback. I'm going to get someone
All
from
right.
my side lined up.
Next week sounds like a good week. I think for the next few weeks we'll be able to keep doing the Fridays. Knocking on wood. No other things are coming up.
Next week is yeah, no, we're fine. So I will be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the week of the 20th through the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I am planning on a trip.
Oh, I was
Down
going to
to
say.
Philly?
Yeah, Larry's at Zany's in Philadelphia over here presenting, and don't forget to tip your waitresses.
Yeah, no, it's not a I'm not doing a
show,
presentation.
it's not a comedy show or anything. You're actually there to work.
Actually there to work.
Or a
yeah.
family trip.
Family,
Okay.
it's both a family trip and a working trip. So
All
we'll
right.
see.
I think my next travel is not going to be for a little while. We'll see how that happens later in the year, though. It's I'm already this time, unlike last year where I came in stuff last minute. But suddenly, I guess it's when people give you a little bit more status, they give you a little bit more leeway to tell you when to do stuff, and they try to grab you last minute. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to have that schedule much further out We'll see.
Sounds good.
All right. Fun
All right.
stuff.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Signing us out, Raquel. Thanks, Raquel. Who is our special guest this week, actually.